Good day everybody, welcome back to a Chart Nerd technical analysis video. Today we will be discussing the likes of Telcoin. Now, it's been a very productive few weeks for Telcoin / month with the recent Nebraska banking license news, and there's a lot of hype and speculation around Telcoin's price. Now, I do have targets that are pushing up to high 21 cents this cycle, and today's video is going to be tapping into that potential a little bit more, what we could be expecting in the near short term, and what we could be looking for towards end of 2025. So do stay tuned. Nothing that I say is financial advice. Let's dive in. So coming over to my Telcoin chart here, and I've got this multi-year resistance and this multi-year support, of which we have 1 point of contact on resistance, 2 points of contact of resistance, and on the channel support we have 1, 2, 3 as of late 2024, 3 points of contact on support. Now, I think Telcoin is replicating a very similar move prior to last cycle, where it actually came up here and had 1, 2, 3, 4 months of downside, roughly about 4 to 5 months before exploding into 2021. Now, fast forward from this correction in March, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 initial months here of corrections, but nonetheless, the play is near enough identical to what we occurred back in late Q4 2020 before breaking out into Q1 of 2021. So it looks as if, Velo, Telcoin is literally replicating a very similar move that it had here before breaking out. Now, if we analyze this prior structure, you'll notice that from the second point of contact on support, we came up to a high, came back for a correction, put a higher high in, and it looked like this was where the takeoff was going to happen before crashing for a few months and then getting the break. Fast forward to where we are now. We had this relief to a high, came back, okay, very similarly to what we did before, pumped up, and this high looked like it was going to be the break, very similar to this high here. And then at this point, we ran into these key EMAs, the red 55 and the yellow 20, and then we got that sort of 5 to 6 months pullback, which created the third point of contact on this multi-year support. So we've done everything that was pretty much identical, very, very similar. Okay, you came up to a high, corrected, higher high, looked like it was the breakout, corrected, then broke. Okay, you've come to a high, pulled back to a higher low, got the higher high, looked for the breakout, pulled back for 6 to 7 months, and now we're actually getting it. So it's playing out very, very similarly to the last cycle before it broke out. Now, it's important to note that we also do have the official banking license, which is a prime catalyst for this move. Now, Telcoin is at the moment looking to form a huge monthly bullish cross where this 20 EMA crosses over the 55, and I believe that this is the catalyst. These EMAs, these moving averages, are pushing the price up here alongside the Telcoin news and the sort of attention that it's getting. I think it's looking for a very, very similar breakout where it had in 2021, where from sort of February onwards, really and truly, February/March onwards, it kept pumping all the way till May until it created this ascending resistance line and created the second point. So it's worth noting we have the 2 points of resistance, we have 3 points of support on this multi-year support, which means we are initially missing somewhere along the lines a third point of contact on resistance. Now, this is why I think over the next few months leading into sort of Q2, early Q3, maybe, this is where Telcoin has the potential to push to 21 cents. And what's ironic is I have a Fibonacci here that also links us to this target. Okay, so we've got the 1272 fib extension at 21 cents. Now, if I get the 1 fib back on and the 0 fib and the 0618, right now TEL has a key level of resistance that it needs to reclaim. And the reason we're seeing a pushback on the from this candle that's trying to break out here is because Telcoin has ran into the 0618 golden resistance on the way back to its all-time high. So right now Telcoin has bounced off of multi-year support, is about to form the bullish cross, but at the same time has ran into the golden ratio on the retracement back to the 1 fib all-time high, which you can't really see right here. I need to get that edited, so bear with me. Let me just make that a little bit more visible. That's the 0 fib, so that's the wrong one. Let's go back to this one. There we go. Right, okay, so you got the 0 fib, which is this cycle's low, retracing back to the current all-time high, okay, which is this 1 fib. On the way up, we have the 0618 at 0.012. This is a key level of resistance. Now, it's quite normal to run into this as resistance and start coiling up on the lower time frames before the breakout occurs. And this is what I think is happening with Telcoin now. But anyways, what I wanted to point out is that once the all-time high is tackled and we enter price discovery, the next target is the 1272. Now the 1272 ties up very closely to the previous impulsive move that we've replicated over here. So there's a bit of confluence, guys, okay? The 1272 at 21 cents and the potential bull run target ties up with multi-year resistance and this 1272 fib extension with a replicated move from last cycle, and we have the bull cross that is trying to form as the catalyst alongside the Nebraska banking license, which is a perfect storm in all honesty in creating this madness that could occur for Telcoin. Now again, nothing that I say is financial advice. We could, in fact, this could be a delayed path and it might not be as impulsive this cycle. It could stretch a good few months leading towards Q4, and we're just in this sort of consolidation phase now, waiting for this breakout to occur. Okay, so this may not happen by Q1, Q2, depending on market terms, but I think that eventually by the end of the year, maybe towards Q4, this is where Telcoin is trying to get to. Now, if we focus on this 0618 resistance, I'm going to remove everything from the charts here. Didn't want to do that. We're going to remove all the drawings from the charts, okay? And you could just look at it, so nice, sweet, and simple, okay? We had this bear market correction. We had a sort of a few years rough of consolidation. So this was a consolidation phase. You can see it was just an accumulation phase where we had accumulation for almost sort of 3 years here. And this could be some sort of triple bottom structure as well, which I've monitored in the past. But nonetheless, we've broken out of the key resistance, and you'll notice that the wick down that Telcoin has actually provided a flipped SR on this previous resistance from March. So these candle closes of March, scroll over to the right, we've now had a backtest for support, and we've got the monthly bullish cross forming on that backtest. So this is why we're seeing such an impulsive push tying up with the banking license, and why this is a perfect storm. We're exiting the accumulation phase and entering the euphoria. Now let's zoom into the weekly here. Keep in mind that we have run into this resistance. What I think the potential plays are for Telcoin in the near short term, if this path does take a little bit longer to actually play out and we're going to stretch towards Q4, we may not have the instant impulsive move right this second, albeit considered a potential. And if we don't get that right this second, then we do have, again, because we ran into key levels of resistance on the 0618, we could be looking for a higher low level of support. So right now, we can look at this sort of pattern here. Telcoin was coiling up prior to this breakout that it's had over the last last few weeks. You can see that we did get the impulsive breakout, then we started consolidating. We initially back tested the 20 week EMA, this yellow line here, with a wick down to 0.004, and at this point we then got the candle closes above the 20 and broke out of this channel that we was coiling in for, where was this was between December leading into February. So we had a couple of months, roughly a month, 6 weeks or so. In fact, it was longer than 6 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks worth of consolidation from an uptrend. And now we've got the breakout. Again, we've ran into a key level of resistance, which is why the last 2 weeks we've seen a bit more of a pullback. But key levels of support to look out for here, guys, are the 0618 and the 050. Now, if I remove these two trend lines, you'll notice that the 050 sits on these previous levels of resistance that Telcoin was trying to break out of for a very long time. So we was 10 weeks under 0.007. Now we've melted through that resistance and we've ran into the 0618 on the macro, which means we could be looking for some potential drawdown towards 0.007, turning this previous resistance into support and then going for the break. And at this time, we may have also the weekly 20 creep up over time and potentially come down to the 050 and look for that as a back test. I'm gonna get my drawings onto white, but we may see that occur, okay, guys? And I think a key level of support, if we are to sort of come down any further right now, is for Telcoin over the next sort of few weeks to potentially retrace towards this 050 and then go for the next leg up, continuing its trend. because all you'd be doing is pulling back to a previous area of resistance, turning it into support. Whilst this 20 EMA sort of creeps up, we could potentially retest that in the next couple of weeks and then go for the breakout. Okay, I think it's all eyes on Bitcoin really, which I think I've seen a lot of panic in the market, but Bitcoin still holds structure. It's got 92k and 96k roughly, you know, over the last couple of days it's been losing that, but we haven't seen confirmation or loss in candle closes yet. So you've got 96k as support and 92k. If Bitcoin finds its footing, then we could see this low put in sooner, but unless it, you know, until it does, and if it does pull back to 92k roughly, then this is where over the next couple of weeks, coming towards the end of February going into March, we could see the pullback for Telcoin back to its 20-week EMA and back to the 050 before getting the breakout and continuation. Now there is a pattern on the daily time frame. Just to confirm again, guys, when you're above these EMAs, by the way, you are in an uptrend. So we had the breakout, initially got the back test to the 20, and then now ran up to that 0618 resistance, which can result in a pullback again to the previous flipped SR zone and to this 20 as it creeps up, and then get the break for continuation. So just to, again, keep your eyes out for 0.007 here. And if we do get that pullback, I think it would be a great opportunity to get into TEL if you are already sidelined. So that's that. And then looking at the daily time frame here, there is a pattern that is playing out at the moment. And this looks to be, because you've got these sort of lower highs over time, and then you've got, in regards to close candle lows, you've got this squeeze here in this triangle. And I think below right now, well, actually today we've had a wick down to and below the 20 EMA. Okay, and we found support around 0.009. So if we see Telcoin start coming down and closing below these wicks that are outside of this support of the triangle, then this could indicate that we're going to look for the drop down, which might bring us to that 0.007 level. Let's have a look. If we do squeeze into that sort of apex, yeah, you can see that roughly it would bring you down to 0.076, and this would tie up with even clearer here on the daily. You can see that it would be bringing you back down to retest these previous highs of resistance. So what we're looking for now is whether Telcoin over the next sort of, where does this apex squeeze into? Roughly towards March, going into 1st of March. You can see we're caught between support and resistance. If Telcoin does break down, then initially your first level of support, as I just gave you on the previous Fibonacci, is the 050 and flipping these previous resistance points into support before getting the next wave out of here. And you can see that it ties up very closely to the 55 EMA on the daily. So, you know, it's a lot to look out for here. And again, just to give us an idea, guys, where that 050 sits once more, the breakdown target could bring you down to 0.0072, and it sits on all of these previous candle closes, and you could drag this over to the left and see that it suits and ties up very closely with that sort of 10-week period that we were struggling to break out of. So this was a very, very strong level of resistance for quite some time, and eventually it got broken, which was on the 14th of February. It broke out, it ran into the 0618 on the way to the all-time high, and now is deciding whether it wants to continue the trend here, and it could break out to the upside, guys, don't get me wrong, but it does have the potential, if Bitcoin is a bit rocky over the next couple of days, to also come down and put in this correction, which would offer opportunity, I think, moving forward for Telcoin. So in the near short term, we could be looking for that breakdown. Now, if we do get the break up from here and we break out from this pattern, then we could be looking at seeing a Telcoin at a rough price of 0.014 in by the start of March. You know, that's the upside target, and the downside target, if we squeeze into that apex, is coming back down to 0.007. I am in favor of it actually putting back to this sort of zone here and sort of getting that sort of reset it needs in order to continue the trend. You don't always just want to continue vertically up here, because you will get shafted and come back down quite quickly. You want to gradually, as you can see here, we came up and had to consolidate for a long period of time and then get the move. Right now we're consolidating, come back for a level of support, and then get the move. You know, just gradually work your way up the stairs here. It's a nice and healthy structure. But nonetheless, right now, Telcoin is above all of its key EMAs. You've got the 20 EMA and the 55. You can see that the 55 generally held here over that 10-week period, albeit considered there were some fake outs below the 55. Majority of it was scoot back up and the buyers came in, and this essentially led to a breakout of a key level of resistance that we was under for 10 weeks. So right now, it's all on the daily. In the short term, it's watching this triangle, and if we get confirmational closes below it, then do look for that 0.007 target. If we start breaking above it, then look for 0.014. So I guess that's really it today. But on the long, on the grand scheme of things, I think it's the signal it's about to print here with this macro 20 and 55 bullish cross. This is the first time in its history it's about to form this signal, and this is something that should not be overlooked. Again, we have a key level of flip to SR on previous resistance of the accumulation zone. We've backtested now the EMAs for support. I think this is just sideways choppiness on the lower time frames right now, i.e. in this triangle, waiting for a decision. And if it does break down, it just offers further opportunity looking into the future. And if it breaks up, fantastic, we're pushing to higher targets. So that's my outlook today for you on Telcoin, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the content from Chart Nerd TA. Take care. Peace out.